Oh shit, it's you. Didn't think you'd be back here so soon. Well, call it an unsuspected surprise. Well, you might be wondering what are the plans for this lovely video we're concocting, or that is probably already put together, but whatever. Anyways, the name of this video is Top 5 Movies That Scratch a Certain Part of My Brain. Stay tuned. Okay. Time to get the people what they want, huh? Khalil's top 5 movies that scratch his brain. Now, when I say scratch my brain, I mean it just like does something to me, Like, it's very rare that I like watch something and it like does something to me, Like, it makes me feel like, gives me a new perspective on like, say, life or just something cool, you know what I mean? Or just, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just, I don't know, it just does something to me, And really and truly thinking back to it, I've watched like a decent amount of movies, but I barely remember half of them. Like, you'd have to tell me it, and I'll be like, oh, I think I've seen it, you know what I mean? But the first one on the list is a childhood classic and a childhood favorite for me personally, you know what I'm saying? Speed Racer. Speed Racer is one of the greatest movies of all time, and I will die on that hill. Where to me, like, if you like, I love that movie so much, and I think so highly of it, right? If that movie came out today, it would sell out in the box office. No cap. With today's CGI and technology, there's no way it wouldn't sell out. You know what I'm saying? And the story is so like, how to say, I won't say it's like the best story, but it's, I don't know. It just hits all the notes for me personally, But what I like and what you like are two different things. If you were to ask me, what's the one thing I like, and I'm gonna make it like, like, I don't know. It's gonna be like, the main theme for the video, or, each movie I talk about, I'm gonna say like, oh, why is it a movie that scratched my brain? You know what I'm saying? I think for me, it would just be like, it makes me feel like, I don't know, it might sound corny to say, but like, it makes me feel good to like experience like human emotions, and you know what I mean? Like, it just makes me feel good. It makes me, want to like try and give everything I can, like the best, you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because like there's like a million movies like that, or a million better movies, you know what I'm saying? Like way better movies than Speed Racer, like on paper, but like, I don't know, that's just what resonates with me the most. All right, now number 2 for the second movie that scratches my brain, feel me? Second movie on the list, I think I was like, I don't know, like 12 years old, I think, when I first watched this movie, or 13. I don't know, I think I was like, I can't remember what year or how old I was. I think I might have been in the 5th grade. But the second movie that scratches a certain part of my brain is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Now, if you know me personally, you know that Scott Pilgrim, or like the franchise, is like one of my favorite franchises of all time. And it's not for what you may think, because some people would like look at it at face value and think, oh, most guys probably love this movie because they idolize Scott. I don't really know if anybody thinks like that, but just for the small few that may, try and pit that against me, that's not the case. What I love about the movie, right, is, I'll say this, I love the movie for its film language, for the way how it presents the film and goes about telling the story. There's little like tidbits and nuances in the story that you won't catch at first glance, that when you watch it back, you'll catch, especially if you read the book beforehand, you know what I mean? Now, I love the story in general, like say the graphic novel and all that stuff, because, it's a movie, so they won't be able to like pack in as much time or information as they can on the time frame that they have, you know? So the story itself, like from the comic books, I love it because like, what was it? Because like it's taking two people who are, pretty bad, not bad like as in like they're evil, but bad in the sense that they just do shitty things to like people in their lives, and they're just learning how to like reconcile with that and be better for themselves, not for each other, but for themselves. Because before you, write this down, write this down, before you can love somebody else, you gotta love yourself, you know, and respect yourself. And I feel like the movie itself was kind of running home with that idea, but we just didn't see like either of them, or let's say Scott, like put in the work or put in as much work as he did in the comic books. And we didn't get enough context, or like, what's the word I'm looking for? We didn't really get enough context or backstory for like Ramona and like, you know, her baggage and all that stuff to really see like how deep or what's the scope, or just enough of her personality to see, you know? I always say that like a lot of people complain and say like Ramona doesn't have a personality in the movies or in the comic books. But I'm like, in the comic books, like I'd say she has a personality. She's kind of like somewhat of a snarky bitch, you know, like she thinks that she's too cool for some people sometimes. When low key she's like a giant nerd, or she could be as big of a nerd as Scott sometimes, you know? I don't know. And that's number 2 so far.
All right. Third spot up on the list. Now, I'm not gonna lie, like these first 2 movies are, you know, pretty lighthearted, pretty like happy-go-lucky in a sense. You know, there's some seriousness and there's some, you know, like a lot of like action and repercussions in those movies, or in the first 2 movies. But, you know, number 3 spot, I've decided, because it's my video, to have like 2 entries in this number 3 spot, mainly because like they're both pretty simple. They're pretty, find your words. They're pretty similar on paper and in somewhat execution too. So the 3 movies, the third spot is, God, I can't talk today. The third spot is Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society. Now, growing up, I didn't grow up in America, by the way. I grew up overseas. That's a story for another time. But growing up, there were certain movies in my mom's DVDs collection that I couldn't watch. Boys in the Hood is one of those movies that I remember. Now, when I first moved to America, I was about I was 17, and then I turned 18. And before then, I was already watching whatever I wanted to watch anyways by the time I was like 15, 16. But I don't remember how. I think I was just like watching like clips on the YouTube, you know, like Hood Prim Cinema. Shout out Prim. He's a Hood all-star. My fault. He's a black YouTube all-star. Yeah. And I've seen the clips, or I watched one of his videos reviewing the movie, and I was like, I think that's how I watched it the first time, or came about to watching it the first time. And I watched it, and I don't know, it brought forward a different perspective to me as a black man living in America, a young black man especially. I was only going to mention Boys in the Hood because the story resonates with me more with the main character Trey and Ricky, or just the whole main cast, honestly. You know, me and Trey have pretty, you know, Trey was written to be like an everyman, you know, like, you know, it sucks to say, but like a majority of like, you know, black children growing up are products of single parent households, right? And, you know, I grew up in a single parent household. I grew up with a very stoic father and a very headstrong and determined mother. And I knew a Doughboy. I knew a Ricky. I knew a lot of people, or the main cast of the movie. So that's why it hit hard for me, especially for somebody that never grew up here, to see the similarities in circumstances. You know, I had loving parents. I wasn't really the best at school. I can't lie about that. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I wasn't really the best at school. But I've had the foundation or the groundwork to have a successful or good life, you know? And that's one thing me and Trey had in common. But at the same time, I also grew up around people that didn't have the same, they didn't have the same, like, you know, opportunities that I have, you know? And in that sense, like the story like really started to hit home for me, like seeing like, oh, like how like due to association can really be life or death regardless of where you live. Like, you know what I mean? Like Trey was living with his mom, and then he would visit his dad sometimes, and then he ended up living with his dad full time, right? Now, because of Trey's association to his friends and his friend's brother and all that stuff, you know, he was instantly a target. I had a similar instance like that growing up where I'm from too, where because of my family or my friends, sometimes I'll get, a, they, like in the rap songs, if I can't get him, I'm gonna get his man's, you know. It's some real shit that most people, or, people who never grew up in those circumstances can't seem to fathom or understand, you know. The movie was very powerful and impactful in the sense that it really and truly brought a lot of awareness to what it's like living in the hood in America compared to, or shedding a light on it really, and, bringing more awareness to people who wouldn't know, you know. I wish I could say that, like, it made a difference, because I can't name one hood nigga that probably who's never seen that movie and never took anything away from it. Maybe there's more than I like to bargain off for, There's probably a lot more people. I probably just, there's probably a lot of people like that who have seen the movie. So who knows? Maybe it did make a difference, And as for Menace to Society, I feel like it's like I feel like Kane and O-Dog is like Trey and Ricky's like Echo Fighters. Like they're just flipped, you know what I'm saying? Kane and O-Dog didn't really care to like make their situation better. They just accepted it, and they're just like pessimistic towards it, And Ricky and Trey, they hated their situation and they wanted to change it, So I guess like, if you were to ask me why I'm not going into detail about Menace to Society, I mean, like, we see what happened when you live a type of lifestyle in Boys in the Hood. Menace to Society just kind of like, like dives more into it and gives you more, how to say, context, or the more likely outcome, All right, we're finally winding down. Let's see what we got here. Inglorious Bastards. I don't think I can say that word on YouTube. Oh well, I'll just edit it out. And I've been doing it for like half the video already. Inglorious Bastard, I would say, so if each of the videos, or my bad, if each of the movies had a theme, right, or what I liked about it, Speed Racer is, how to say, the feeling, the energy, the love of your family, love of a sport, like being prideful in what you do, right? And having integrity. That's what I love about Speed Racer. Scott Pilgrim, I guess you could say I love the story as well as the film language, It's a very good coming of age story. Like, I feel like it's, one of the few coming of age stories that's not really too corny or too, how to say, unoriginal, There's very few coming of age stories. I think, I don't know, if I were to think of like I guess I never really seen that many coming of age movies if I were to think about it. Or I guess I never really had that much of an interest too. So, yeah, I think they never really piqued my interest, like super bad. Scott Pilgrim. It's another coming of age story. Mid-90s was good, but I just feel like it ended off in like such a weird way. Like I felt like nobody like learned anything, or maybe it's supposed to show that like they're all so close that they didn't have to say anything to understand how they're feeling. But whatever. But yeah, no, I like Scott Pilgrim. I think the reason why I like Scott Pilgrim so much, or why I love it so much, is because the time of my life that I got introduced to it. I wasn't even like a man. I was a preteen. I was like 13 years old. And that was my first introduction to like, indie type, movies. It's not like full indie because it was made by Universal, but you know what I'm saying? Like stories in that vein or nature, you know. And above all else, it showed me, like, you know, what to expect as, you know, a young adult. You know what I mean? There's gonna be, nothing is ever gonna be 100%. You're gonna make mistakes. The person you know, love is gonna make mistakes. And, you know, your past doesn't ever go away, but that doesn't mean you always gotta carry it like some big burden, or nor should you forget about your past entirely, you know? I think that's a real beautiful story. Now, Boys in the Hood, I would say Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society just taught me, like, what to expect, really. It was more like a blueprint or a guide, you know? And some people might be looking at it and thinking, like, oh, that's such an old movie. Like, how could that be your blueprint or your guide in modern day America? I'm like, look, if you went to high school in America, right, especially around the areas where I live, like, you know, I'm right next to, like I live in Connecticut, so I'm like right next to Bridgeport, right? And you meet a whole lot of people, you know what I mean? And yeah, I know I'm gonna get clowned because, oh, you live in Connecticut isn't hard. And I was like, look, bro, you'll find trouble. If you look hard enough, you'll find trouble, you know? And when you start meeting these types of people, and then you reference, like, you know, what you've seen in movies and the different levels of ignorance and tomfoolery and violence, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not too far off. And I'm not saying, like, oh, like, this is something that, like, a guide that you should live by and die by, but it's just, like, something to give you peace of mind, you know what I mean? And yeah, I think that's what I take away from those two movies in the third spot. Inglourious Basterds, I think. Wait, yeah, no, I was supposed to be talking about Inglourious Basterds now, I'm so sorry. But the number 4 spot, Inglourious Basterds, right? It showed me, or I feel like it run with the concept of less is more so well. Like, you don't understand, like, the movie is, like, pretty still, not stale, but pretty still is what I meant to say. There's usually, like, not that, like, when action happens or pops up on the screen, like, it catches your attention. Like, nothing is wasted, you know what I mean? And the story is slow, it's a slow burn. But, like, as you're watching it, you start to see everything intertwine and connect together so well. And if you ask me, I think this is where Tarantino mastered his bag of storytelling. You know what I mean? Where I feel like Pulp Fiction was, like, the blueprint, right? And Inglourious Basterds was, like, damn near, like, everything coming together. And I think what's so interesting about that movie is that, like, they barely spoke English in that motherfucker. Oop, I almost cursed. But they barely spoke English in that movie. Barely. You know? And still, like, it could still, like, engage you in it. Especially, like, if you know what I mean? Like, sometimes, like, I just tune things out, especially if I don't know what's going on, or if I have to read the subtitles ever so often. But, like, that movie had me hooked. Like, it was a long movie, but I wasn't even paying attention at the time. And that's something that Inglourious B word, because, you know, I'm gonna get too tired to edit this out. I gotta edit all of this by myself, by the way. I don't have an editor. And I got work tomorrow for 7 o'clock, so I better get to going, you know. But that's what number 4 and number 5 have in common. The pacing and the visual language of the story is so concise and so well shot and put together that you're not even paying attention to how long the movie is. So, yeah, stay tuned for number 5. Okay, you beautiful people, it's time to wrap up this top 5 list. I'm not gonna lie, it took me mad long to make this list. Not even like mad long in like, whoa, sorry there. Not like mad long in like making the list or compiling it, because I thought about it like this afternoon. Ooh, bless me. I thought about it this afternoon when I was at work, and I was like, oh yeah, this could be a good idea. And what I mean by long, I just mean like,
like the video is gonna run on longer than I want it to. I can't even lie to you. But yeah, for the number 5 spot of this list, it is going to be The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson. I will absolutely die on this hill, right? The Batman featuring Robert Pattinson is not even one of, the best on-screen iteration we've ever gotten of Batman. Now, before you jump into the keyboards and the comments and try to fight me on that, I said he's the best Batman. I don't think he's the best Bruce Wayne, but if my theory is correct, I think what they're trying to do with this iteration or this version of Batman, at least off of the first video, or my bad, I keep saying video, God, but based off the first movie, is they're trying to make, I think, long story short, in the second movie, I think they're gonna try and make, how to say, Bruce Wayne more social, so he has better covers or better cover-ups when he goes out and does his Batman stuff. Because if I'm gonna be honest, if you were to tell me that that version of Bruce Wayne is Batman, I would 100% believe it. He's inside the house all day, he doesn't take no social cues, or he's socially unaware, and I don't know, he look emo as hell. Like, he looked like he would dress up as a bat. And he has the money and resources to do it, so that's just my opinion. But as to what I like about the movie, so compare what I said about Scott Pilgrim, right? In terms of like the visual storytelling, and take what I said about Inglourious Basterds, about how it's shot and edited so well and put together so well that you're not even thinking about how long the movie is. The way how the film immerses you into this story, into Gotham, hell, right from the first scene, right? You know how hard it is to catch the audience attention on the first scene or the first sequences of a movie, like off rip, right? The movie just hooks you, and all of a sudden you and everybody else is a part of this murder mystery in the theaters or in the movie, trying to figure out like who did it, who is this Riddler guy. And as Batman is figuring out the clues, you're figuring out the clues. I think in terms of world building and immersion, I would say that's why, the Batman is up there as for, top 5 movies that scratch my brain. I'm not gonna lie, after I watched that movie, I was walking around for days just talking, saying like, I'm vengeance, I am the night. And honestly, I'm so happy I finally, got the balls and the courage to make this video. I want to try and like make more videos and just upload them throughout the week. I'm thinking about making videos Friday, edit them Saturday, and just post them like throughout the week, because I work a full-time job like anybody else, but I just don't really have as much time, especially because I'm like starting out and all that stuff. I just can't say like, oh, I'm gonna go do for YouTube full time, but I got, I don't know, my hours at work are just like, I'm there all day, when I finally get out, I just want to sleep, and then if I'm not at work, I'm probably out for like 2 days on my days off, So yeah, I'm gonna try my best to make this work, and thank you, and have a good night. Wait, don't go. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, I am very open to taking criticism, regardless if it's editing, the way how the shots are, or how I do the shots. I wanted to try like just moving the camera around and just do different shots to, engage and catch the audience's attention, And also about the microphone, it's not actually hooked up, as you can see. The real microphone was right here the whole time, but you probably already knew that. You guys are pretty smart. But yeah, no, don't be afraid to leave a like and a comment, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you.